Hi, last year we made a video about a table that Geek and Son had sent us. It was a nice budget gaming table and we liked it very much. And in that video I remarked how I didn't want a fancy table because it would feel like showing off. So the important question I want you to all ask yourselves is, am I being a hypocrite for accepting this fancy new table? And the answer is yes. But who cares, I got a fancy new table. Just one thing before we start. This table was sent for us to keep. All they asked in return was that we make a video and to time that video with the Kickstarter, but editorial control was totally in our hands. However, having said that, just because they have sent us a fancy table and haven't paid us any money to make this video and haven't asked us to say anything specifically, does that make us biased? Absolutely yes. This is a very fancy and very expensive table, and we're not table reviewers, we are board game reviewers. So you should take everything we say with an absolute grain of salt, even though, once again, we did not get paid any money to make this video. More importantly, just because we have this table sent to us, do not feel like this should be something that you have to buy, because these are expensive tables and not everyone can afford that. Now, having said that, I do like good furniture quite a lot, and even in my student days when I didn't have a lot of money, I was very particular about the sort of furniture that I wanted. And if the opportunity didn't present itself, this would have been probably something I would have saved up for. Now, that might not be you, and that's fine. But just sitting next to this table makes me want to talk about it like it's a sports car, and I don't even drive. I take the bus everywhere, or used to take the bus. It's not really bus season right now. Seriously, it's making me want to say phrases like, it's got a solid wild oak 4.6 liter V8 engine, it's got USB charging enabled tires, and it's also got cup holders. And just as well it's got cup holders, because I'm not letting other people put drinks on this table. Heck, I'm not even letting other people put games on this table. I'm not letting anyone touch it. Think of it like a mafia boss. This table is untouchable. Okay, let's get to the things I like about this table. First, finally, a sensible lid. One of the reasons we immediately jumped when Geek and Son offered to swap us the old table for this was that the lid is no longer difficult to take off because it's split into parts. So now it's easier to take off, but also easier to store somewhere. I do wish that there was some sort of under the table storage solution for the leaves, but I think that would probably make this table impractical. Right now, the height is just perfect because the basin is not too high, and also there's just a comfy amount of space for my knees. And I really like my knees. There is a storage solution on offer, but Geek and Son did not send us one, so we can't really comment on it. And also it's £120, which feels a bit much for something to just store some wood. Next up, the velvety inset. And this is really nice. You know, sometimes you have these things, you touch it, you look at it, and then you touch it again, you go, this is really nice. Well, this is one of those. Games just really pop on it. I know there's an option for a red one, but I'm really glad that they sent us this nice blue/grey muted one because, well, it's a nice color and I like how games look on it, but also I like that it's got a bit of pizzazz of its own, but not so much that it overtakes the game itself. And also, this is just a very pleasing material to touch and feel, and cards are easy to pick up from it. I know this isn't a card, but sort of like a card. Imagine that this is a card. Look, I'm picking it up. It's easy. I also know that there's a neoprene mat option, but neoprene can sometimes feel a little bit tacky and it has a funny smell. And this is just lovely. Another bonus of the inset is that you can just take it out. One of the things we immediately noticed with this type of table is just how much crap and filth you accumulate in this groove, and cleaning it is surprisingly a lot more bothersome than cleaning the surface of a regular table, whereas here just lift it and then brush it. Super simple. What else? Well, it's got a lot of extra gubbins, and we'll talk about those later, but I really want to talk about this one because I like it very much. It's called, I think, a laptop holder, but that's not the purpose that I found for it. You can just stack it onto this rail and it stays attached. And you know how rule books exist in this magical nebulous space on the table where it doesn't really seem to belong in any one space? It just sort of flitters around and doesn't really stay. Well, now I just put it here and it's brilliant. And if you want to look up something in the rules, either ask me for it and then I'll hand it to you and you'll hand it back and then I'll put it back here again, or I'll just look up the rule for you. But otherwise, it's staying put where it belongs. I love it. But most importantly, it's just a really nicely built table. And I want to emphasize this because I always really liked the feel and look of oak. And this feels, by the way, also very nice. It's got a very nice polish to it. And it's the sort of piece of furniture that if you treat it well, it will last you for decades. Geek & Son do say that it's made from wild oak, so it's probably gonna end up tasting a little bit gamey, but let's face it, most of you will not be eating this table. And yes, there are the requisite cup holders, which I have an absolutely very strong love-hate relationship with. I love them because they hold my beer. I'm gonna open this one. It's non-alcoholic. Have a demonstrative sip. It's actually quite nice. But I hate them because they don't hold my tea. I drink beer about once a week. And sometimes it's not, like I said, even alcoholic. And I drink tea about once an hour. And I play games every day. And tea is just a staple fixture. So I guess these are really nice if you're a beer drinker. But if you're anything like me, you will find them mostly frustrating. Just very quickly, Elaine said to me, how would you even make a cup holder for a cup of tea? Well, very simple. Just cut out this bit. That's it. You can even cut through the metal. It's just, as long as you make a nice cut, it could hold your tea. And that's all I'm asking for. As coffee. And there are a few things I don't like. So one of the table legs has a phone charger, which sounds great in principle because, hey, you're playing a game, your phone died, no problem, I'll just plug it in and keep going, right? Well, the reason I'm not demonstrating that in practice is because you have to ask yourself a question. Where do tables normally sit? In the middle of the room. What do chargers run on? Electricity. Where does electricity come from? It comes from the edge of the room. And I think you can immediately see the problem. Not to mention that this phone charger is going to give out and or become obsolete way before this table does. Thankfully, it's optional, so that's not something you have to buy into. The other thing, and this is minor, is that this side of the groove is advertised as a card rail. Let me demonstrate. Just put in my cards like that, and it holds them for me upright so I can see them. But the problem is that you can't really play games like Root or Undaunted North Africa, which this is, because there's information at the bottom of the cards. And this card rail obscures about 1/3 of a card on its bottom side. So that's not really convenient. And I understand that this isn't really meant to be a card rail. This is just the little protrusion that holds the leaves of the table when you put them on top. So I think they just added that as a sort of weird extra marketing spin feature. But if you wanted to buy the table specifically because it had a card holder, I wouldn't really recommend that function, although probably most of you won't care about it. And that's it. Well, okay, there's one more final thing. When you put the leaves back up, there is a function where if you accidentally spill a drink, it's not gonna go onto the table. It's going to go directly into these little grooves and then trickle down into here and then all the way out here. and just fall on the floor rather than falling on this nice inset. But that's not a function I have any practice in because A, I don't want to spill a drink deliberately on my table, and B, I don't accidentally spill drinks. Ever. With the one exception of John Perkis's copy of Ponzi Scheme. Moment of silence for Ponzi Scheme. This table is only available to people in Europe, and the reason for that is that Geek & Son will hand deliver this table to you, which sounds mad, and I don't know exactly how that's going to work out, but I will say that they did hand deliver this to me, and not only that, they offered contact-free delivery, where they carried this table to my shed single-handedly, and then that table stayed in the shed for 48 hours for quarantine, and then I assembled it myself, which was pretty easy. I just put the legs in and tightened it with a spanner, and that was it. They will assemble it for you if that's something that you need them to do. And I will say that the service is excellent, but I will note that I am a YouTuber, and I'm not saying that the service is otherwise not excellent, because I'm pretty sure that it is, but I do have to give you that caveat. But that's the end of the video about a table, because there's only so much more I can say about tables. I can talk a lot about other things like board games, and I do recommend that you check out our channel. If you haven't seen it before, it's got a lot of board game reviews, and people say they are very, very good, and I would trust people because I'm one of them.